I think you saying that there was a line, in paragraph 1767, it says what you kind of just said. It says, in themselves, passions are neither good nor evil. So I think something that the church clarifies here is maybe in saying, kind of jumped ahead to 1767. In 1765, I know I'm kind of jumping all over the place. It says that there are many passions, right? There are many passions, but the most fundamental passion is love. Anyways, what I wanted to get at here is passions are not good or evil, right? Passions are that feeling within ourselves, right? That emotional part of us as human beings, human beings, we encounter, as we just read, something good or something evil, and we want to do something about it. And so it's not the passion that's itself intrinsically morally good or morally evil, but I think it's what we use them to lead us towards, right?
Right.
So it can...
Yeah, I think a good way to kind of look at it is maybe like a gas, like the passion is gasoline for your car.
I like that.
And then the thing it's like the thing that keeps your car going, but it's you who like decides where that car is going to go using that gas, using that fuel.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yeah. It's like it's a tool, right? Our passions are those feelings, emotions are a tool, and you can order them towards the good, or you can order them towards the evil.
Right.
And so I think this is why virtue, right, is so important. But before we get to virtue, so in paragraph 1768, it says this kind of a continuation of what we are just now saying. It says that strong feelings are not decisive for the morality or the holiness of persons. They are simply the inexhaustible reservoir of images and affections in which the moral life is expressed. Passions are morally good when they contribute to a good action, and evil in the opposite case. The upright will orders the movements of the senses it appropriates to the good and to beatitude. An evil will succumbs them to disordered passions and exasperates them. Emotions and feelings can be taken up into the virtues or perverted by the vices. That's a lot, but I feel like that was like my favorite paragraph, honestly, in this section.
That is huge. Yeah.
So I don't know what you think about that, but
I was looking at when I was reading this beforehand, a lot. What I love what they used here is disordered passions, right? Like the fact that the passions are not nearly good or evil, but it can be perverted or misused in a way. And so I think that language, I think, is important to distinguish, like, again, separating the fact that passion in and of itself is not a good or bad, right? Because I think, like we said earlier, we can easily, confuse that.
Sure.
Right.
If anything, I would say I would probably risk saying, even if I'm theologically wrong, I would risk saying that they're good. And the reason why I think that is just like the whole idea that, like, if to have passions, to have emotions is part of the human experience. And I think the fact that God becomes incarnate and he himself experiences emotions, right? And experiences passion and his passions, like, to give an example, right? He has emotion and he's passionate when he's carrying the cross and he's feeling the suffering, right? And allowing himself to express the sorrow that he has, right? When he locks eyes with the woman of Jerusalem and he feels a pity for them. Or for another example, kind of on the opposite end, where he enters the temple with, rope and he starts expressing a righteous anger. And that all comes from those passions, right? But obviously he's expressing those perfectly ordered towards the good in two different ways in those situations. But I think, if anything, that's what I would say. I'd go far enough and say that in the same way,
it's like,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just hearing you out.
Yeah. I
do this thing where when I hear people, I just kind of like say what they were gonna say too. Like, I just have a bad habit of mine.
We're finishing each other's sentences. What's happening? But what I was gonna say though is I almost think of, like, us as human beings. Oftentimes when I teach my students at my school, and I'm talking about, like, what separates us human beings from other creatures, and there's a lot of different things you can talk about, right? You could take an entire philosophy course on this, but, like, what I usually focus on is that, like, us human beings, we have two particular faculties that other creatures don't have, and that's our intellects and our wills, right?
Right.
And like, for instance, animals, like animals, maybe like a pet or something, they don't have intellects and wills, right? Meaning they can't know things internally in their minds, like come to know truths. And then they also can't willfully choose good or reject good. Okay. They merely operate on instinct and on their passions. This is what I was going to get at, is we're similar to the animals in that we both have passions, right? We have something inside us, like earlier today's Friday that we're recording this podcast. And, you know, I've had some sort of inspiration in me say, you know, Taylor, you should do some sort of spiritual sacrifice today. Maybe don't have soda or have whatever it is, some luxury item, just as a little small sacrifice for a Friday. Right. But I'm not going to lie. Like within me, I was like, dude, I want a cookie. I want something sweet right now. Like so bad, right. You know, and I don't think I had a cookie today, but maybe I did. But my point is I almost think those are like the passions. Those are the animal part of us reacting, the want to fulfill some sort of carnal, natural desire. But, and that desire is not necessarily morally evil or morally good per se. But I think it is leading us towards a good, but like you said just a minute ago, it can be perverted. And to continue the example of eating a cookie, right? Like it's morally good to eat food because that's going to fill us and help us to continue to grow and to continue to live, right? But that can be perverted by vice, right? Where we overeat or we overconsume to the point of, you know, just unhealthiness or eating the wrong things or whatever that may be. You know what I mean? So I think this maybe is a decent example, I hope, of seeing how vice and virtue are at play with the passions, but because we're not merely natural animals, but we're made in the image and likeness of God with intellects and wills, we need to use our intellect, or we need to use our free will guided by our intellect to allow our passions to lead us towards the good and not towards, you know, vice or, you know, continuing in our own vices. So, and I think we haven't even talked about what virtue is yet, and we'll share that in a second from the catechism, but this is what I think it means to at least attempt to live the virtuous life. Thank you for watching this clip. You can click here to watch the full episode or here to watch another clip I think you might enjoy. With that said, before you go, if you want to support the Catechism Guy, please consider clicking that subscribe button and then the bell, and that way YouTube will have to let you know every time we release a new video.